Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Life Coach University and the wonderful world of Pay It Forward talks, conferences, courses, where a bunch of us coaches come together and pay our coaching forward as an act of kindness and service to the world, just because we all believe so much in the power and the beauty of coaching and want to share that with others to help the world grow and just be that much better of a place to live in. And so all that we ask is for you to pay the kindness forward. If you get value from these talks, if you feel so inspired, then please go out and share kindness and love with the world. And then we would love to hear about that. So please email your story to us at hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. And also please go to lifecoachuniversity.com and check out all of our upcoming talks. We have a conference coming up in June, and we have a course that started yesterday with Heather Flake on relationships. So we have so much amazing free content on lifecoachuniversity.com. So please go and check out all the other talks on there that are available for you. And then, of course, pay that kindness forward by going out there and just doing something kind for somebody else. My name is Chris Weals. I am a relationship coach for men. This month I have been talking about relationship recovery, and we've covered self-awareness, self-management, and now we're on day 4 of social awareness, which is day 15 overall. And yesterday we talked about awareness of your partner's love languages and saboteurs or sabotaging thoughts, and how to act with compassion and empathy and curiosity. So basically enacting your sage superpowers that I covered before, instead of being emotionally reactive to them, because you know that the way they're behaving is based on their own fears and their own suffering. And so if you are aware of that, then it's easier to come from a place of compassion versus reaction and anger, frustration, upset. Today, we are going to be talking about acts of love and cries for help. And I'll get into that in detail. First, I want to let you know, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A section just by clicking on the Q&A button that should be next to the raise hand button down at the bottom of your screen, and I will answer any questions that you have for me at the end of the session. So acts of love and cries for help. Now, I believe that in relationships and in most situations, most words that we say, most things that we do fall into either the category of acts of love or the category of cries for help. And I think it's really important that we're aware of where people are coming from, so we know how to respond appropriately in a way that helps us create the experiences that we want to have, that helps us express who we intend to be, versus just repeating old patterns of fear, negativity, our own saboteurs coming out. If we're aware of whether or not somebody is acting from a place of love or coming from a place of fear, then we can make better decisions about how to respond. And this comes from having a pause, being able to create pause between the stimulus, which is what that person is saying or doing, and our response. So the pause is our opportunity to choose how we respond. And so I think it's really important to build that self-awareness muscle, or the awareness muscle in our mind, to be able to pause, to be able to catch ourselves if what somebody else said or did causes a reaction in us, it's important to go, well, wait a minute, what is my reaction about uh, what am I making their behavior mean, and am I right or wrong? And so it actually, having that pause gives you time to process a little bit, and so you choose an intentional response versus allowing that survival brain, the ego, the fight, flight, or freeze mode, whatever you want to call it, kick in and just repeat an old pattern. So basically react, right? You're acting again in the same pattern that you've been acting in to similar stimulus in the past, or stimuli in the past, and you just continue on creating results or outcomes that you don't necessarily want. You're doing this unintentionally because you're being reactive instead of creative, or instead of responsive. And so I think this is one of those areas where it's really important to know this. I think this concept is very helpful. It has been for me to be able to apply this filter to different situations, to different behaviors, different words people choose to say to me. When I can remember this concept of, hey, is this an act of love or a cry for help? And the cry for help means that they're in fear mode, like they're having a fear-based response. And so that could look like aggression, that can look like anger, that could look like impatience or frustration. All of these maybe like aggressive responses from people, or reactions or behaviors, are coming from a place of fear. It's because they're worried that somebody is going to do something to them or take something away from them, and they go into this fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so it's fight, right? So some people flee, some people freeze, some people fight. And so that looks like frustration, that looks like anger and impatience. And if we interpret that as, oh, well, this person's just a jerk, or this person's out to get me, or there's something wrong with them, and this isn't okay. Like if we judge their behavior as wrong or bad, and that, or as an attack on us, then we like trigger our own sense of fear, and then our survival brain, and now we're just reacting, and that's going to cause a fight. It's going to escalate the situation in a way that we don't really want it to. We don't really want that drama. We don't want that fight. We don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. We don't want them even angrier or more frustrated with us. And so it's really important to be able to catch ourselves and think, oh, hey, this person's angry because they're hurt. They're angry because they're scared or fearful, or it's coming from fear. And when you realize that it's coming from fear, then it's a lot easier to be compassionate. It's a lot easier to be empathetic and think, oh, well, geez, they're afraid. I don't want them to be afraid. Or they're hurt. I don't want them to be hurting. How can I help? How can I? What you can assess what you did that maybe contributed to them feeling that way, and then responding or reacting the way that they did. And of course, it's not your responsibility. Their behavior isn't your responsibility. However, when we engage with other people, our behavior, our words, even our own energy definitely influences other people, especially if they're not fully aware, if they're not, if they haven't been doing this work, if they haven't been strengthening their mental awareness muscle, then they're behaving unintentionally or unconsciously. And so as somebody who might be at a higher level of consciousness than they are at currently, we can be helpful. We can be compassionate. We can help them out of that. And in so doing, we're creating an environment, we're creating a situation or a circumstance or an exchange that is more in alignment with what we actually want for ourselves. So this is, again, why it's really important to start with setting intentions for what you want, like understanding and defining your values and what your purpose is in life, creating vision for what you want your relationship to look like, what you want your work and your finances and your lifestyle and your health and your growth, all of that. It's really important to get really clear on what you want every area of your life to look like. It's really important to be very clear on what you want to be, like how you want to be, who do you want to be, how do you want to show up, how do you want to interact with others, especially in your relationship with your significant other. It's important in general for all relationships, but your closest, most important relationship with the person who is probably your favorite person in the world, or you wouldn't have chosen them to be your life partner. It's important to have very clear intentions. It's important to have an understanding of why you're with this person. It's important to remember all the positives, because sometimes we can forget, we get caught up in a relationship that has a pattern of fighting or avoiding, and then we maybe get stuck in just thinking about the negative stuff, and we forget how wonderful our partner is in all the like the many ways that they are wonderful, because we're just stuck in these patterns without even really realizing it, without knowing it, and so it's important to be able to pull ourselves away from these patterns. So by having an intention for yourself and for the relationship, for having a purpose for yourself in the relationship, for remembering that your significant other is a flawed human being, and they're emotional and they get hurt sometimes and they're afraid sometimes, and then they react unintentionally out of fear. Like, it's important to know all of that so that we can continue to show up in the way that we want to create the experience for them that we want them to have, create the experience for us that we want to have, create the relationship that we want, so we're both growing together and that we're helping the world around us be a better place, that we're helping others grow. Really, it just comes down to awareness, and that's why I focus so much on that. And again, in any given moment, it's important to remember this concept of acts of love and cries for help, because then you can either just feel really good, oh hey, this person is doing this thing because that's their way of showing me they love me. That's wonderful. My girlfriend does that a lot. My girlfriend does a lot of things to show me that she loves me. She really cares about making me feel loved. She goes out of her way to do different things that are important for me, that are important for her, and it feels really amazing. And so it's important to recognize that, so that we're allowing for those deposits into the value bank, and we're building connection and maintaining that sense of admiration and love and compassion. And then again, when they're maybe in a triggered state, or the ego has taken over, or they're hurt or afraid, it's important to know that their behavior is coming from that place. And now this is an opportunity for us to respond in a way that is actually helpful for them. And then in turn, that helps us have an experience that we would rather have, instead of perpetuating the problem, instead of getting defensive and making things more unpleasant for both of us, right? We view it as an opportunity to say, oh, hey, my girlfriend or my boyfriend or my husband or my wife, whatever, like they're angry, they're yelling because they're afraid, or because they're hurt, right? Or they're being impatient with me right now. They're expressing frustration with me right now because they're afraid or they're hurt. And it's not because that's how they want to treat us. and when they're not feeling this way, when they're coming from a place of love, which is their real truth, like that's not how they want to behave or treat us, but they're just their level of awareness isn't there. And so they're doing the best that they can with what they have in the moment, and what they have in the moment just isn't a high level of awareness of why they're behaving the way that they are. They just get hijacked. We all do it. We all get hijacked by sabotaging thoughts that are designed to help keep us safe, but they get confused. They're confused about what situations are actually a real threat or not. And so we perceive on a daily basis, we're regularly perceiving things as an actual threat when it's not. It's just, it's a threat to our sense of right and wrong and to our ego, but it's not a real threat on our lives. And so we're just having these reactions all the time. And so our partners are going through it too. So if we can maintain a level of awareness and love and compassion for our partner, and then help them through those times when their level of awareness is lower and they're coming from a place of suffering, a place of pain and fear, then we can help them through that. And I know that it's not easy. This is something that I still struggle with. I have a hard time with receiving critical feedback, especially from a girlfriend. If she tells me something that I did that she didn't like, or that hurt her or messed her up in any way, I have a hard time receiving that information. I have, outside of the moment, I am greatly appreciative of that. I want to be a better person. And when she tells me that I did something that she didn't like, that she's giving me an opportunity to make adjustments, to change, to help her have a better experience, to make our relationship better, to increase or strengthen our bond. But there's that ego in me that's really strong at times, that kicks in and rejects that. It perceives that as a threat, and then sometimes I don't catch it and I react emotionally. And so I know how hard it can be when the person we're with is telling us something about us that is less than perfect, or if they even get caught in a reaction, if we do something and it annoys them or frustrates them, and instead of telling us kindly, they react, they snap at us or whatever, it's really hard to stay calm in those moments, to come from a place of love and compassion, right? I get that. However, that's the way, like, to intentionally create the relationship that we want, the experiences that we want. That's my goal anyway. My goal is to continue to do the work on a daily basis, meditating and just working through things that I want, areas of myself that I want to grow, change. So I'm creating better. I keep working on it, and the progress is there. It's not always as fast as I want it to be, and it might not be for you either. And so, yeah, it's tough. This is not the easiest path. However, it does set yourself up for an easier life in the long run. That's my belief anyway. That's why it's worth doing the work now. And I actually really enjoy the work. I enjoy the process. I love to see my own progress and growth, and I love to see the growth in my relationship. I love to see how it influences my partner in a positive way. And so that I think it's really worth doing the work and putting in the effort and getting the feedback and working through being able to receive that feedback, doing all of this work. And I just think it's really the way forward. And until I know a different way, this is how I think it has to be done. We just have to keep working on ourselves and working on creating experiences and relationships and responses that are intentional and are coming from a place of love versus reaction and fear. And then, we help our partners and our friends and our families and our communities get there just by leading the way, by showing them, not necessarily like telling them that they're not doing it right, but just by showing them, by showing up and being that ourselves. And that's why I've spent all of this time so far really like talking about like me, myself, like you and yourself, and not you and your partner, because it starts with each of us, right? So we can greatly improve the health of our relationship without our partner even needing to do anything, just because we're taking full responsibility, we're doing our part, right? And then that we are able to influence through our behavior. We're able to shine light on, and not necessarily boss people and tell them, hey, I have this new awareness, and now I'm telling you you're not aware and you're not doing it right. That's not going to help. No one's going to want to hear that. No one's going to respond well to that unless they're already super enlightened, right? So what really helps is to just be the example, to do this work on yourself, and continue to do the work on yourself, to take full responsibility, to not blame, not complain, not make excuses, just keep working on yourself. If you're still getting frustrated, if you're still getting upset, if you're still getting angry, remember not to blame anyone else for that. Actually thank people for showing you where you still need to work on yourself, because for each of us, getting angry, getting upset, getting hurt even emotionally, like that's because of what's going on inside of me. It has nothing to do with what somebody else is saying or doing, right? It's based on my thoughts about it, my beliefs, my judgments of what they're saying or doing. And that's why it's important to even when it comes to relationships, it's important to do the work on yourself. All right. I know that was a lot. Thank you for thank you for bearing with me. I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat, or sorry, in the Q&A. If not, then thank you so much for being with me today. I really do hope you got a lot out of this. If there's something else you would like to hear me talk about, if you have any other questions that you would like me to address, you can show up and put those in the Q&A, or you can email to hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. Again, my name is Chris Weals, and I am a life coach. I am a relationship coach for men. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me through lifecoachuniversity.com. Thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope that you'll join me again tomorrow.